All right, so yeah, let's get into our third and last topic, the Premier Padel drama, which we have to touch upon. Unfortunately, the
Yeah.
season started in a bit of a weird way with like all these scheduling
Yeah, Saudi.
problems
Yeah.
in the Riyadh P1. And the next tournament, which is supposed to be Gijón P2 in a
Yep.
couple weeks, has been boycotted by the top 100 players. So none of the top 100 players in the ranking have signed up to play for this P2. Why?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably like the biggest protest, if you want to call it a protest in paddle history.
Yeah.
Why is it happening? Gosh, guys, we had to write it down because it's so hairy.
Yeah.
We don't know actually
We'll
what's
try and
going
make
on.
it digestible for you guys.
So if you
Yeah.
don't know, here are the key issues, right? Premier Padel have made some adjustments to the way the tournament is structured. And yes, the top 100 players have not signed up for the tournament in 2 weeks' time. But it's not really about the top 10, 20, 30 players. Really, this is a community effort led by the players to protect the infrastructure of, the rest of the players in the top 100, right? If you look ranked 50 downwards and their experiences of competing in Premier Padel versus the people in the top 10, oh my gosh, it's very different.
Very
a great
different.
video that Hugh and I both watched from Paddle Drive. Maybe some of you are fans of that.
Yeah.
Kind of explain
great,
that.
Great paddle channel, by the way.
Yeah, fantastic. He explains very clearly on like this tricky road, whether it's finance or whatever, to get these players playing at these tournaments all over the world.
Yeah. Obviously,
It's-
like Coelho, LeBron,
Yes.
Tapia, Galan, these guys are millionaires and they manage to, travel the world without an issue and because they make a lot of money. But as soon as you start going down the ranking,
Yeah.
it's not an easy life.
No.
It's really hard financially and you have to work really hard to support yourself.
Exactly.
By doing what you love and you're following your passion and playing paddle.
Yeah.
So the main reason, the main point about why this boycott is happening is, first of all, Premier Padel has shrunk the tournament draws. So apart from the top pairs that always get in and
The seeded pairs. Yeah.
there was 8 qualifying pairs that they had to fight to see if they could get into the main draw.
Mm-hmm.
Premier Padel has now shrunk that from 8 to 4,
Halving
giving less opportunity to lower ranked players.
Yeah.
Prize money cuts.
Yeah.
That's another issue.
This is how these guys get paid, right?
Yeah.
And, they'll spend the money traveling. Maybe they have a coach that might not even be able to travel with them.
Many times they can't.
Hotels, surviving, eating.
Physiotherapist,
Exactly.
psychologist. Like you have to think like Galan shows up to Riyadh with a coach,
Yes.
well rested, in a nice hotel
Mm-hmm.
with a physiotherapist and a psychologist.
Yeah. And
He brings his whole team with him.
yeah,
Right.
This guy's got therapy, man.
If you watch early games in tournaments, you will see that many of the lower ranked teams, sometimes on the benches they just sit by themselves
Yeah.
and figure out the strategy on their own because they can't pay for a coach to come with them.
No.
And with the prize money cuts, which is another reason, lower ranked players now earn less and top players remain with stable earnings.
Yeah, it's like, look, you're spending all these monies to compete in these competitions, and let's say you're solid, man. You win the games, you get to where you need to get to. You're probably not breaking even when you're playing. So it's like, how the hell are you meant to sustain a career out of this?
Yeah.
And like, look, it's all great focusing on the top players. We know all the names. We know, we see them play every tournament. They all came from the bottom of the ranks eventually, right? Like,
But what the thing is, and I think this is a very important distinction.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that, and people say, but it's, I mean, how did Coelho and Tapia get to where they are? Like they had to go through that as well. Isn't just like meritocracy?
Yeah.
No. Which it's a double-edged sword. Paddle is growing a lot, as you guys know.
Yeah.
It's becoming international. So now it's played all around the world professionally.
Yeah.
Whereas a few years ago, it was only played in Spain.
Yeah.
You were a player in Spain. You only had to spend X amount of money to travel around and to win money, basically. You didn't have to go to Miami, Riyadh,
Yeah.
Mar del Plata in Argentina, Middle East, Italy, all around Europe. You didn't have to do that. So it was a lot less expensive. Now, qualifying rounds are played in the home country. So
yeah, which is, we got to highlight, that's, incredibly, I think, unfair,
Yeah.
especially for these players that are,
yeah.
it doesn't matter if they're going to climb up the ranks eventually or not. They still make the body of paddle
Yeah.
players that are in the top 100 of the world. It's in the world, man. Like,
Exactly. So in the current climate of paddle, it is way harder to come up in the
Yeah.
rankings. Basically, let's just put an example. You're in the qualifier. You're top 150, right? And you get the call that you can play a qualifying round in Mexico.
yeah,
Fine. You have to pay for flights with really short notice because they tell you with really short notice if you're in a qualifying,
They're like,
if
yeah,
you're a qualifier.
fly to Mexico,
2
man.
days before, how expensive is that flight?
Yeah.
Whatever.
And
1,500 euros or pounds, dollars, whatever, just for the flights. You get there, and the qualifying rounds are played Saturday and Sunday. So you have to play a game on Saturday. If you get through, you have to play 2 on Sunday. If you get through, then you get into the main draw. Round of 32s and 16s and stuff. So if you're really lucky, it rarely happens, but imagine you get into the main draw as a qualifier. You have to face Garrido and Dineno in a round of 16 or round of 8s.
Who haven't played one game.
Who haven't played one game because they go by.
Yeah.
They don't have to play any of these games. They just rock up to the main draw, well rested with all their coaches, all their psychologists, physiotherapists, whatever. You've already played 5 games in the last 4 days. You're destroyed, and you have to come up against these beasts. There's no way you can't do anything about that.
Yeah. So,
And let's say that that's the best case scenario and that you actually get into the main draw. Maybe you fly to Mexico on the Saturday or on the Friday. You play Saturday. You go to 3 sets. You lose the last set on a tiebreak, 7-6. Done.
yeah.
You have to go home.
Yeah.
You have to go home and back to training, and you've spent $2,000
Dude, I wonder
for 2 days. It's
I wonder what that feeling is when you book your flight to go to the tournament and you're like, do I book a return? When do I do, how
Yeah.
far am I going on
Yeah.
this one, man? And you get that open ticket return or
Yeah.
whatever, or one-way ticket just to leave the day after. And it's just God damn. The mentality and that, the psychological impact that this has on the players is a lot, man. So,
it's a tough industry. And
yes.
professional athletes, this happens all the time, but especially, this happens in tennis as well. As soon as you go a bit further down the ranks, it's really hard to climb up.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason. All these reasons, that's why the players are boycotting.
Yes.
Connor, what's been Premier Padel's response to that?
Well, ever since, it's not called the Qatari Sports Fund. It's called Qatari Sports Investment. That's the government-owned, investment group for Qatar to really dive deep into the culture of sports and create popularity. They picked up Premier Padel in 2023, right? And it's not been a great response so far because any form of protest or standing up against the man, if you want to call it like that, it doesn't go down well. And I'm not too sure. This is still live happening, guys. We're still kind of picking up on the bits of information. But what we do know is that, the amount of effort that Premier Padel has kind of met or tried to meet some middle ground between the players hasn't been met at all. And they essentially threatened to sue the Professional Padel Association, right? The Player
Association, yeah.
Exactly, which is not essentially the first time that this has happened as well. I think when World Padel Tour and Premier Padel were still two separate entities.
Sort of the same.
There
issue.
was an uproar with the players because there were scheduling conflicts. Sponsorships wanted to play in certain tournaments, and it's not the first time this has happened. So really, it feels like okay, they've experienced this before. They know that if they stand together in a group and team up and actually put the voices of some of the top players to stand up for them, change should happen. But will it? I hope it doesn't add more fuel to the fire
Yeah.
But that's literally the only, voice that Premier Padel has put out to address any of this information.
I mean, that what they did first was extend the registration deadline for the tournament. It started with none of the top 50 signed up. They were like, okay, we'll extend it. Then none of the top 80.
Yep.
Now none of the top 100. It's done.
Yes.
They've extended it way too far. So now I think the number one pair for Gijón P2 is going to be like top 160 something.
It's going to be great, man. I can't wait to watch.
Yeah, which is going to be interesting.
Names,
but
man.
like this really, I guess, sort of, it begs the question, like,
I mean,
what's going to happen? What's going to happen with the future of Premier Padel, because it's, and I guess, we can get into this now again, like who's in the right, like what are our opinions? What's the debate here?
I think we know who's in the right. It's clear as day, man.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's really nice to see, because Coelho and Tapia could be like, well, this doesn't affect us.
Yeah.
We're just going to sign up, play against top 160, breeze through every single round 6-0, 6-0, and get the bag and get another dub.
No.
But it's nice to see solidarity within the circuit.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of, if you take the stance of the players, right, and they want to make sure that the infrastructure of, being in the top 100 is almost protected.
Yeah.
And it's this sanctuary where they can allow players, that doesn't matter how far they get up the ranking, to be able to sustain some form of a career and be involved in padel to help padel grow. However, Premier Padel's view on it, I think, is a little bit different, where they want to make it a little bit more. They want to make it a lot more exclusive, a lot more difficult.
It's becoming, that's what I was going to say, like elitist, right?
Yeah, it's extremely elitist. They're like, we don't care that these guys are struggling to, come to the tournaments and whatever.
The numbers come from the top 16 players, top 8 pairs. That's what people want to see, which is true.
Yes.
But at the same time, you have to think about the integrity of the sport as a whole.
Yeah.
And like in 10 years' time, Coelho and Tapia aren't gonna be the same. They're gonna be in their 30s. Like there has to be
the next generation.
There has to be the next generation, and you have to protect that next generation.
So
of players.
that's I think that's where Hugh and I's opinion sort of align here. And if you really want to look at the long run of padel, which is we're still in such early days.
Yeah.
Like this, it's gonna kill the sport, man. It's gonna absolutely kill the sport, and it's gonna make it so hard to grow and slow down the growth of the sport. And it's great. We love watching the big names play. We all do. But there's a future for the sport here to grow.
Exactly. And this would be like this is a great topic of conversation and debate. Do let us know.
Yeah, let us know,
in the comments. Guys. We love seeing you in the comments.
Yeah.
And it's always really nice to hear from you guys, whatever it is. So if you guys can give us your take, what do you think is going to happen? Are they in the right? Are they in the wrong?
Yeah,
is
definitely.
Premier Padel doing the right thing, or are they just, the big corporate evil man trying to,
That's what happens, man. A lot of people, especially that are invested in this, it's their eyes have dollar signs. You know what I mean? How can you not? It's an exciting time to be in padel, but you got to treat it with respect. And I think there's a lack of respect towards the players who have essentially make the sport.
Yeah.
There's no one else. And
Absolutely.
Look, that's kind of like the main scoop with this. I think another interesting thing that we should speak about and question a little bit, because it's not too clear what's going on. It's just the men that are
good point. Yeah.
Are sort of protesting or boycotting. None of the female players are doing it. And I'm kind of led to question why. Is it because there's a smaller player pool of players? Is there underlying pressures coming from Premier Padel? Is it a financial thing that you mentioned earlier? Like
I think it's it might not be the exact same problem, but it's not that it doesn't affect the women's division at all. It still affects them the same way, because the qualifying pool has still gone down from 8 to 4 on both sides. But I'm thinking maybe which is such a sad thing to think about, but the only reason I can think of is how maybe they can't afford to do that, the women's, as in maybe because their prize pool is lower and they do make a lot less than the men, maybe it's something that they can't afford to do, and they just have to keep playing because it's, they have no choice, man.
They can't stand up. Yeah.
But that's just my speculation. It's unclear as to why the women's haven't haven't done that.
I mean,
well.
what? We're 2 weeks away from this tournament happening. Obviously registration's closed, but I'd love to be a fly in the wall inside Premier Padel right now. I don't know if you saw, but at the end of the Saudi tournament, the director of Premier Padel had to go and stand next to the winners and everything, fireworks coming off. This guy his mind was somewhere else, dude.
Surely.
And I can imagine that the inside scenes of Premier Padel are very interesting. Very interesting time to be in Premier Padel.
Yeah.
And, we are witnessing probably like the biggest boycott in paddle history, right? Can you say that? Like, and it will, this is live right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be determined in the next few days, really what the result is, when legal battles come in here.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I don't know about Koya and Tapia's lawyers, but I would not want to go up against the Qatari Sports Investment Group because I don't think they mess around. And it creates, it's ruining, it takes it away from the sport at the end of the day. We just want to watch the games. Yeah. And obviously we want to watch the players, but as I said earlier, the players make the game. And if there is an imbalance of respect, understanding, communication, there's got to be some middle ground met here.
And it's about the integrity of the sport as a whole as well, I think is, something that has to be kept in mind. But yeah, I mean, really shaky start for the 2025 season.
Shaky start.
This doesn't stop the Off-Court podcast, guys. By the way, we're here.
We're kind of fueled by it.
We're fueled by it. This is, at the end of the day, it's still paddle content.
Yeah.
As Connor said, these are like the last news we have, so maybe our next episode we can bring you some more. But yeah, stay in tune with it. Let us know your thoughts on this whole drama as well, and where your stance is, what you think is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, drama aside, I'm just also happy that Premier Padel's back.
Absolutely,
and there's 24 more tournaments happening that will take us to the end of the year.
And the
so
OG,
much will happen.
Off-Court podcast is back as well.
Yes, which is nice. It feels good, dude.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels good. And this was a great episode, man.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
So
I mean, as always, guys, look, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll be back for the next tournament. I want to cover that one actually.
Yeah.
Gijón,
well, I mean, we'll see. Maybe it's a super a lot of juicy content.
Premier Padel finished. Padel is a sport over. Like it's like that. But yeah, we see. It's an interesting time to be involved. It's a great time to have a platform like this so we can talk about it and hear your guys' thoughts. Yeah. But we're happy to be back, and I think that's the end of the episode here, guys. So thank you all so much.
Thank you for joining, guys.
All right, take care.
We'll see you on the next one.